In a quiet corner of space, the human colony ship Aurora's Reach floated like a silver dream among the stars. Its mission was simple: to find a new home, to plant the flag of humanity beyond the old blue earth. But peace was never meant to last. Captain Ethan Cole sat in the command seat, staring at the endless stars. He wasn't the kind of man who believed in fate. He believed in engines, in plans, in maps that made sense. But that night he made a joke he would never forget. "I swear," he said with a grin, his voice echoing in the control room, "the universe owes me a wife. Maybe she'll drop from the sky one day." The crew laughed. It was just a joke, a small moment of humor in the cold emptiness of space. None of them knew that the universe had been listening. Far from the colony ship, something ancient stirred. A ripple spread through the void, not sound, not light, but a call. The signal was faint, buried deep in cosmic static, but it carried intent. Somewhere in a forgotten system, a ship older than human civilization opened its eyes. Ethan's joke became a whisper across galaxies. The next morning, the Aurora's Reach detected strange readings. A metallic object was approaching fast, far too quickly to be a drifting rock. The crew rushed to stations. The radar flashed red. "Unidentified vessel inbound," said Lieutenant Mara. "It's not human design. No IF signal. Energy readings are off the charts." Ethan frowned. "Open comms. Maybe they're friendly." But the static that filled the room wasn't friendly. It was cold, full of layered tones, voices upon voices speaking in a rhythm that felt alive. Then the transmission ended, replaced by silence. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers," Ethan ordered. The crew scrambled. The engines roared. But the other ship didn't fire. Instead, it came to a slow stop only a few kilometers away. The view screen lit up, showing a dark vessel, sharp, black as obsidian, covered in glowing crimson veins. It looked less like a ship and more like a living creature. The lights pulsed like a heartbeat. "Is it organic?" someone whispered. "Unknown," Mara said. "But it's scanning us." A beam of red light cut across space and touched the Aurora's Reach. The sensors screamed. Every monitor flickered, then went black. Power dropped to half. Alarms blared. "Shut it down!" Ethan shouted, but it was too late. The red light expanded, swallowing the view. For a second, everything froze. No sound, no breath. Just red light, humming softly like a heartbeat. Then it was gone. The systems rebooted. The lights flickered back on. The strange ship was still there, unmoving, silent. "Did it attack us?" Mara asked. Ethan checked the readings. No hull damage. No weapon marks, but something's different. The data made no sense. The computer's core had been accessed, not by force but with precision. A file had appeared, one that none of them had created. Its name was written in symbols they couldn't understand. Ethan opened it. For a moment the screen glowed, showing only one line, translated automatically by the ship's AI. "I heard your call." The crew stared in silence. Ethan's heart pounded. "My call?" he whispered. Before anyone could answer, a shockwave hit the ship. The lights flared white, and suddenly a figure appeared on the bridge, not through the doors, not through teleportation, but as if she had stepped out of the air itself. She was tall, graceful and glowing faintly in the red light. Her eyes were silver and her skin pale as moonlight. Her armor shimmered like liquid metal. 2 long braids fell across her shoulders. Around her neck, a small emblem pulsed with crimson energy. Everyone froze. Ethan stood slowly. "Who are you?" The woman tilted her head, studying him. When she spoke, her voice was soft, but it carried weight, ancient and beautiful. "You called for a wife." The crew exchanged confused glances. Ethan blinked. "That was a joke." Her eyes glowed brighter. "The universe does not understand jokes. I am Commander Lysara of the Crimson Fleet, Warbride of the Eternal Houses." She stepped closer. The air around her felt charged, like the calm before a storm. "You summoned me, human, and I have answered." Ethan took a step back, trying to find his voice. "Wait, this doesn't make sense. You can't just—" "I can," she interrupted. "By the old laws, a call was made. By the old blood, it must be answered." Her gaze softened, almost human for a moment. "You wanted a wife. I am here." Ethan felt the cold metal of the console behind him. The crew didn't move. The hum of the ship faded into silence. He realized with a strange chill that his careless words had brought something powerful, something not entirely mortal, onto his ship. and she was looking at him like he was already hers. The bridge of Aurora's Reach was silent. Every screen hummed faintly, every heart beat louder than the ship's engines. The woman who had appeared, Commander Lysara, stood still, her eyes shining with cold silver light. Ethan's crew didn't know whether to draw their weapons or run. She looked human, but there was something otherworldly about her, like she was both alive and something more. Ethan took a cautious step forward. "Commander?" "Lysara, right? You said I called you, but that can't be true. I don't even know who you are." Her lips curved slightly, almost a smile, but not quite. "You spoke to the stars. The old laws heard. I am bound by them. You are the one who asked for a wife, and by the Crimson Pact I am now yours." "The Crimson Pact?" Mara whispered behind him. Lysara turned her head slowly, her voice calm but filled with weight. "It is a bond made long before your kind began to walk. When a heart calls across the void, one of the eternal houses answers. It cannot be undone." Ethan's mouth went dry. "Listen, this is a mistake." "I didn't mean to." She raised a hand and the air vibrated softly. "Intent does not change the call. The universe heard truth in your voice. You asked and I answered." Her gaze locked on him, unblinking. "I am Warbride Lysara. I command the Crimson Fleet, keeper of the House of Bloodlight. And now Captain Ethan Cole of Aurora's Reach, you are my chosen." The words echoed through the bridge like thunder. Ethan took another step back, shaking his head. "I don't even know what that means." "You can't just claim me." Lysara's expression softened, though her eyes stayed fierce. "It is not a claim. It is fate's choice. You are different." She paused, tilting her head. Human hearts burn bright. Yours called to mine. Before Ethan could respond, the ship's alarm flared. Red lights blinked on the control panels again. Mara shouted from her station, "Captain!" Multiple signatures appearing behind her ship, 20, maybe more. Ethan's mind snapped back to command mode. "Battle stations!" "Shields up!" Lysara didn't move. Her voice dropped low, dark and calm. "Stand down. They are mine." The view screen lit up again. Space outside rippled as dark wing-shaped vessels appeared one after another. Each ship glowed red like veins of molten glass. They surrounded the Aurora's Reach in perfect formation. "Those are warships," Mara breathed. "Vampire Fleet-class design, but I thought they were myths." Lysara's eyes glowed brighter. "We are no myth. We are the children of the Crimson Sun. You are under my protection now." Ethan stared at her. Protection from what? Before she could answer, another signal blared on the screen. A transmission from an unknown source. The face that appeared was reptilian, covered in green scales, its eyes burning with hatred. "Human vessel," the creature hissed. "You have entered forbidden space. You will surrender immediately." Ethan leaned forward. "Identify yourself." "I am General Koresh of the Goran Dominion." "You have no right to trespass." Lysara's calm voice cut through the room. "This human is under my claim." "Leave, Koresh," the alien snarled. "You again, Blood Witch. Your time is over. The Crimson Fleet is ashes." Her eyes turned from silver to deep red. "You dare?" The connection cut. Outside, the Goran ships appeared, sleek green cruisers armed with plasma cannons. "Captain!" Mara yelled. "They're charging weapons!" Ethan turned to Lysara. "If those are your enemies, we're about to be caught in the crossfire." Lysara's tone was ice. "Not crossfire, vengeance." She reached out her hand and a glowing symbol appeared on her palm. The red veins on her armor pulsed brighter. "Crimson Fleet, prepare for strike." Her voice filled the bridge, though she wasn't shouting. "Target the Goran lead ship, fire." Outside, space lit up like a storm. Beams of red energy burst from her fleet, tearing through the enemy cruisers. The sound of distant explosions echoed through the ship's hull. Ethan's crew watched in disbelief as the alien ships shattered into pieces. Within minutes, the sky was filled with drifting wreckage. Then, silence again. Lysara lowered her hand. The glow faded. Her eyes slowly returned to silver. "It is done." Ethan turned toward her. "You just destroyed an entire fleet. Hundreds of lives gone." Her face was calm. "They were predators. I saved yours. You should thank me." "That's not how we do things," he said quietly. "Not on my ship." Lysara stepped closer. Her voice softened again, almost tender. "You still don't understand. The universe has chosen you, Ethan Cole. You belong to a Warbride, and now, the war comes with you." She walked past him toward the viewing window. The stars reflected in her eyes, cold and endless. Your world will not be safe anymore. The Goran will send more, and when they do, you will stand beside me." Ethan felt his stomach twist. He wanted to argue, to shout, to tell her to leave. But when she turned and met his gaze again, something inside him froze. Her eyes were no longer cold. They were alive with sorrow and fire. For a moment he saw not a monster, but someone who had lived through centuries of loss. And when she spoke again, it was barely a whisper. "You called for a wife, Captain. Oh, you just didn't know she would bring a war." The debris of the destroyed Goran ships drifted like burning stars outside the viewport. The Aurora's reach was silent again, but this time it was a heavy silence, the kind that carried questions no one wanted to ask. Captain Ethan stood near the bridge window, watching the wreckage float past. He couldn't shake the image of hundreds of lives ending in seconds. His crew worked quietly behind him, afraid to speak in front of Lysara. She stood at the center of the bridge, calm and still, her armor faintly glowing red like cooled magma. Finally, Ethan turned. "You didn't have to kill them all." Her eyes flicked toward him. "They would have killed you. We could have tried to talk," he said. "We don't start wars. We explore." Lysara stepped closer, her silver eyes reflecting the lights of the bridge. "You don't understand, human. You are already in the middle of one," Ethan frowned. "Then explain it to me." For the first time she hesitated. Her voice softened, the cold command fading. "The Goran Dominion hunts the remnants of my people. The Crimson Fleet was once a great power, warriors, scholars, and guardians of the Outer Veil. Then the Goran betrayed us. They took our worlds, burned our sons. We fought until only a few of us were left." She paused, glancing at the stars. "Now I am all that remains of my house." Mara spoke quietly from her console. "You said something about old laws, that you were bound to come when someone called?" Lysara nodded. "Yes, the Crimson Pact. It was made to protect those who still believed in the bond of heart and fate. But it was also our curse. The pact responds to emotion, even to a whisper that reaches the void." Ethan sighed, running a hand through his hair. "So when I joked about wanting a wife, the pact heard," Lysara finished. "And it chose me. You spoke truth even if you didn't know it." The captain laughed bitterly. "I was joking, not praying to space magic." Her eyes darkened slightly, but her tone stayed calm. "Words have power, even yours." She turned away and started walking toward the exit. "Rest your crew. The Goran will regroup. You are no longer safe on this path." Ethan followed her out into the corridor. "Where are you going?" "To prepare my ship," she said without turning. He caught up beside her. "You mean that monster-looking thing outside?" She looked at him, a faint spark of amusement in her eyes. "That monster has saved entire worlds. You should show more respect." They reached the airlock. Her presence seemed to hum with quiet energy, not mechanical but alive. Ethan hesitated. "So, what happens now?" She stopped and faced him fully. "Now you decide if you will accept the bond." "What bond?" "The one the universe made when I came." Ethan frowned. "You're saying I can refuse?" Her expression was unreadable. "You can try." Before he could respond, the ship's internal alarm blared again. Mara's voice came over the comm. "Captain." Another energy surge detected. Not Goran, something else. "It's coming from the planet below." Ethan and Lysara ran back to the bridge. The planet beneath them glowed faintly blue, clouds swirling across its surface. But the scanner showed something massive under the atmosphere, a structure buried deep underground now activating. "Is that one of yours?" Ethan asked. Lysara's face went pale, her eyes widening slightly. "No, that's older. Much older." The ground below cracked open. From the fissure, a beam of light shot into space, brushing past their ship like a signal flare. The console filled with symbols and strange energy readings. "What's happening?" Mara asked. "It's a beacon," Lysara said slowly. "A calling stone of the first bloodline." Ethan looked confused. "And that means what exactly?" "It means," she whispered, "someone or something knows I'm alive." The ship's lights flickered. The screens glitched again. Suddenly an image appeared on the main display. A face ghostly and regal, surrounded by darkness. The figure looked like Lysara, but older, with eyes burning brighter and colder. "Lysara of the Crimson Fleet," the voice said, echoing across the ship. "You broke the silence. You called the pact." Lysara's voice trembled. "Mother?" Ethan glanced between them. Mother? The projection smiled faintly, but it wasn't kind. You bind yourself to a human? You shame our line. Ethan felt the temperature drop. Even through the hologram, the figure's presence was heavy, powerful, ancient. Lysara straightened her posture, her tone firm again. The pact chose. I obeyed, the ghostly voice hissed. Then you have doomed us all. The Goran are not your enemy. The real war sleeps beneath the stars. And now, because of you, it wakes. The transmission cut off, leaving silence. Ethan looked at Lysara. You care to explain what that was? She turned away, her voice low. A reminder that the past never forgets. Outside, the dark space shimmered faintly, as if something enormous was moving just beyond sight. The stars seemed to flicker. Lysara faced him again. Captain, your joke may have done more than summon a wife. Ethan swallowed hard. What did it summon? Her eyes glowed crimson, reflecting the stars, a storm that could end both our worlds. The light from the planet still burned through the viewport like a living flame. Every few seconds, the blue glow pulsed and the whole bridge trembled as if the world beneath them had a heartbeat. Captain Ethan stood beside Lysara. Both of them stared at the readings on the console. They made no sense, every scanner overloaded, every signal distorted. What is that thing? Ethan asked quietly. Lysara didn't answer at once. Her eyes were locked on the light. When she finally spoke, her voice was softer, almost afraid. It's a sleeping relic. A fortress of the first bloodline. I thought they were all destroyed. Mara looked back from her seat. You mean your ancestors? Lysara nodded. The first of my kind. The ones who walked between stars before humans were born. They ruled both war and blood, but they vanished thousands of years ago. Ethan frowned. And now they're waking up. She turned to him. No, something woke them. The ship shook again. Sparks flew from a nearby console. We're getting energy surges. Mara shouted. Something is locking onto us from the surface. Evasive maneuvers. Ethan ordered. The engines roared, but the ship barely moved. A blue beam of light reached up from the planet and wrapped around Aurora's reach like a chain. Lysara placed her hand on the railing, her armor pulsing red. It's not a weapon. It's a summons. A what? Ethan yelled. It wants us to come down. The crew exchanged nervous glances. We're not going anywhere near that thing, Mara said. We don't even know what's down there. Lysara turned her head slowly toward her. It doesn't matter. If we don't go, it will drag us there anyway. Ethan's jaw tightened. All right. Prepare the shuttle. We're going down. Mara, you're with me.
Lysara, I'm coming, she said firmly. He nodded.
Then let's move. Minutes later, the shuttle broke through the atmosphere. Clouds swirled like storms of glass. Below, they saw a massive temple rising from the cracked land, built from black stone glowing with blue veins that pulsed like blood. As they landed near the entrance, the air shimmered with energy. The ground felt alive under their boots. Ethan looked around. No signs of life. Lysara knelt and touched the ground. They're not alive. They're remembering. The doors of the temple opened without a sound. Inside, everything glowed faintly. Symbols floated in the air, shifting and whispering in a language older than sound. Mara whispered, It's beautiful. Ethan felt a strange chill crawl up his spine. Feels more like a grave. They walked deeper. The walls showed carvings. Battles across galaxies, winged figures in armor, creatures made of fire and shadow. At the center of the hall stood a stone platform with a crystal the size of a man's heart. It pulsed faintly with blue light. Lysara stepped forward slowly, eyes wide. That's a heartstone. The core of a bloodline ship. Like yours? Ethan asked. No, she said softly. Older, stronger. This one belonged to the first queen. As she reached out to touch it, the crystal flared. A wave of light burst through the room, knocking everyone backward. Voices filled the air. Thousands of whispers layered together. Ethan struggled to his feet. What's happening? The whispers grew louder, forming words. The bond has awakened. The bride has called. The blood of the old returns. Lysara's armor blazed crimson, reacting to the light. The same energy ran through the veins of the temple. The heartstone cracked. And from the cracks, a figure began to rise. It wasn't flesh. It was light-shaped like a woman, tall and graceful, wearing a crown of stars. Her voice filled the chamber. Who breaks the sleep of the Blood Queen? Lysara fell to one knee. I am Lysara of the Crimson Fleet, daughter of House Bloodlight. The glowing figure turned her gaze to Ethan. And you, mortal? He hesitated. Captain Ethan Cole, human explorer. I didn't mean to disturb. You called, the Queen said simply. The pact binds your words. You called for a bride, and now the Warbride stands beside you. Do you deny her? Ethan's throat went dry. I didn't understand what I was saying. I never meant to. Intention means nothing, the Queen interrupted. The universe answers truth, not jokes. Lysara's voice trembled. My Queen, I obeyed the call. But the Goran attacked. The Dominion hunts us. The Queen's glowing eyes dimmed. The Dominion is nothing. The true enemy rises once more when the Shadowborn. Ethan exchanged a glance with Mara. Shadowborn? They were the first predators, Lysara whispered. Older than even my kind. I thought they were legends. The Queen looked at her. They return? The signal that woke me will wake them too, and the bond between this human and you may be the only key left to stop them. Ethan took a step forward. You're saying, me and her, why us? Because the pact always chooses balance, the Queen said. Light and dark. Blood and heart. You human carry will. She carries power. Together you may save or destroy the stars. The light around the Queen began to fade. Choose wisely, Warbride. Protect the bond, or all will burn. Then she vanished, leaving silence and a faint pulse from the heartstone. Ethan exhaled slowly. Okay, he muttered. So now we're supposed to save the galaxy because I made a bad joke? Lysara stood, her expression unreadable. No, she said softly. Because destiny heard you. Outside the sky thundered as lightning ripped across the horizon. The earth trembled beneath their feet. Somewhere far away, something vast was waking. Something hungry. Ethan turned toward the storm. For the first time, he believed her. The storm outside grew darker, the blue lightning stretching across the sky like veins of fire. Ethan, Lysara, and Mara ran back to the shuttle as the ground cracked beneath them. Every few seconds, thunder shook the air, and pillars of light shot from the temple ruins into the clouds. As they lifted off, Ethan looked down. The temple was collapsing into itself, but deep below, something was moving, a shape too large to understand, twisting like a shadow trying to escape the ground. Tell me that's not what I think it is, Ethan said. Lysara's voice was tense. The Queen was right. The Shadowborn are awakening. Mara glanced at her in confusion. What exactly are they? Lysara turned toward her, her silver eyes reflecting the storm. They were the first hunters. They fed on the life of stars. Even my people couldn't kill them, only trap them. If they wake fully, Ethan finished her thought. Then every world burns. The shuttle broke through the clouds and reached orbit where Aurora's reach waited. But something was wrong. The main ship was flickering, its lights dim, its engines silent. Why aren't they responding? Mara asked, panic rising. Ethan opened comms. Aurora's reach, this is Shuttle 1, respond. Only static answered. Lysara's voice went cold. They're not dead. They're being drained. What? Ethan turned to her. How? She pointed toward the window. Around the ship, small black forms floated, shadow-like creatures with wings of mist and glowing eyes. They latched onto the hull, feeding off the ship's energy. Those are fragments of the Shadowborn, she said. They smell the pact, they come for you. Then we're not docking, Ethan said. We'll draw them away. He turned the shuttle sharply, but the creatures followed, hundreds of them. Their screeches cut through the air like tearing metal. One of them slammed into the shuttle, shaking it violently. Mara screamed, shields are dropping. Lysara stood up, her eyes flaring red. Open the hatch, Ethan shouted. What? You'll get sucked out. She gave him a calm, cold smile. Trust me. Before he could stop her, the hatch opened. Wind roared through the cabin. Lysara stepped into the chaos, her armor blazing crimson. The air around her twisted like fire. She lifted her hands and red light exploded outward, a wave that burned through the shadow creatures. They screamed, their bodies melting into ash and light. Ethan watched, stunned. She moved like a storm, graceful and unstoppable. But as more shadows swarmed, she stumbled, clutching her chest. Lysara. Ethan grabbed her arm, pulling her back inside. The hatch slammed shut, sealing the cabin. She was breathing hard, her skin pale. You okay? He asked. She nodded weakly. They're stronger than I thought. The longer I fight, the more they learn. Ethan helped her sit. Then we need another plan. Can we destroy them? No, she said. They can't be destroyed by force. They feed on energy, even light. But they fear one thing. What's that? Her eyes met his. Blood, Ethan blinked. You mean your kind's blood? Not just mine, she whispered. Yours too. The pack joined us. Our bond makes you part of it now. Your blood carries light they can't consume. He looked uneasy. You're saying you want to use my blood as a weapon? She gave a small nod. Only a drop. Enough to forge a beacon. It will push them back, Ethan hesitated. And if it doesn't? Her voice was calm. Then they'll devour everything. Without another word, he rolled up his sleeve. Do it. She stared at him, almost surprised. You trust me that easily? He smiled faintly. You already saved my crew once. Let's call it even. Lysara leaned closer. Her armor pulsed softly. With one sharp motion, she drew a small blade and cut his palm. A few drops of blood fell onto the shuttle floor, glowing faintly in the dim light. She touched her own wrist, letting her blood mix with his. When they joined, the air shimmered, their blood turning into a bright, pulsating sphere. Now, she whispered. The light grew stronger until it filled the cabin. Then it shot outward through the hull, expanding like a pulse across space. The shadow creatures screeched, their forms burning away in the light. Within seconds, the sky was clear again. The shuttle's light steadied. The hum of the engines returned. Ethan stared at the glowing mark on his palm. What just happened? Lysara looked at him with quiet awe. You sealed the pact, now the universe will know your name. He shook his head. That doesn't sound good, she smiled faintly. No, it doesn't. Because now every creature born of the void will hunt you. Mara exhaled shakily. So we survived one attack, and now everything in space wants to kill us. Ethan looked out at the stars. Seems like we're making new friends every day. Lysara turned to him. You joke again, but jokes are dangerous now. I've noticed, he said dryly. She looked away, her voice softer. Still, you did well, he blinked. That almost sounded like a compliment. Take it before I change my mind. Outside, the stars flickered again, not from battle, but from something massive moving in the distance. A dark shape appeared on the horizon of space, bigger than any ship they had seen. It glided slowly, swallowing the light behind it. Lysara's expression darkened. The Shadowborn are not just waking. Their queen has seen the bond. And she is coming. Ethan's hand tightened on the console. Then we'd better be ready. The dark shape that had appeared beyond the stars moved closer, so huge it looked like a night sky swallowing another sky. Even at that distance, its outline curved like wings stretching across light years. Every sensor on the shuttle screamed warnings, but the readings made no sense. Infinity folded around it. Lysara stood near the window, her eyes glowing faintly crimson. That is no ship, she said quietly. That is her. Ethan leaned forward. Her who? The Shadow Queen, she answered. Mother of the ones we fought. The oldest hunger, Mara whispered. What does she want? Lysara's gaze didn't move. She felt our bond. The blood we joined sent a signal across the void. She will come to break it. Ethan clenched his jaw. So this is my fault again. Lysara looked at him, almost smiling. No, you just spoke. The universe did the rest. The shuttle docked back with Aurora's reach. The crew was shaken but alive. They gathered in the command deck, watching the dark mass grow on the sensors. Ethan turned to his officers. We need a plan. Suggestions? One engineer spoke nervously. We can't fight that. It's the size of a moon, Mara nodded. Then we run, Lysara shook her head. You cannot run from something older than time. Wherever light goes, the shadow follows. Ethan exhaled. Then what do we do? She stepped closer to the display. We hide in the oldest place there is, the Heart Nebula. Its storms eat sensors. The Queen cannot see through that chaos. Ethan looked doubtful but nodded. Plot the course, the engines roared. The Aurora's reach turned, heading toward the glowing red mist of the nebula. Outside, the Shadow Queen's form still hung motionless as if watching. Hours passed. The nebula grew larger, its clouds swirling with crimson light. But as they approached, the ship's lights flickered again. The air felt colder. Mara whispered, Captain, she's following us. Ethan checked the radar. Nothing appeared, only static. Yet every screen showed faint distortions, like something crawling just behind them. Lysara touched the console. She doesn't chase with ships. She sends her voice. A whisper filled the air. Faint at first, then stronger. A deep echoing tone like 1,000 voices speaking together. Child of bloodlight, you broke the silence, Lysara froze. She speaks to me, the voice echoed again. You bonded with a mortal. You brought light into the dark. You will answer for this. Ethan stepped forward. Leave her alone. The whisper turned colder. And you, human. You are nothing. Yet you burn like a star. I will take that fire from you. The lights went out. For a moment, everything was black. No stars, no glow, only darkness so deep it felt alive. Then a pulse of red burst from Lysara's armor, throwing shadows across the walls. She shouted, "Hold on!" The ship shuddered. Systems sparked back to life. Ethan grabbed the controls. Report. Engine stable, Mara said. But something's inside the energy field. It's like she's trying to merge with us. Lysara turned to Ethan. She can touch through fear. If anyone loses hope, she enters their mind. He looked at his crew. No one panics. We've come this far. We're not dying scared, the crew nodded. Some forced smiles. The ship entered the nebula, a swirling ocean of red and gold clouds. Lightning flashed outside, lighting up the faces inside for only a second at a time. But the voice didn't stop. Lysara, you cannot hide in storms. You are mine. You always were. Lysara pressed her hands against her temples, wincing. She's inside my mind. Ethan grabbed her shoulders. Fight it. She looked up, eyes glowing brighter. I can't alone. He tightened his grip. Then you're not alone. Something changed. The bond mark on Ethan's palm glowed again. A red thread of light stretched from his hand to hers. The air hummed. The whispers grew distorted like the queen was suddenly far away. She feels it, Lysara whispered. The bond resists her. The queen's voice roared through the speakers. You think love will stop me? I devoured stars that dared to shine. Lysara's voice rose over the noise. Then come and try, old one. A blinding flash filled the bridge. Through the viewport, lightning cracked across the nebula, striking the Shadow Queen's outline. For the first time, she recoiled, folding in on herself like mist caught in sunlight. Ethan felt the ship shake violently. Is she gone? Not yet, Lysara said. But she knows we can hurt her. The crew erupted in relief. Some cheered, some cried. But Lysara didn't smile. She stared out at the red storms, her face unreadable. Ethan joined her. You did it. We made her back off. She will return, Lysara said quietly. And next time she won't come as a voice. She will come as flesh, Ethan sighed. Then we'll be ready. She turned to him, eyes softer now. You speak as if this is your war too. He met her gaze. Maybe it is. You came because of me, remember? Looks like the universe gave me a wife and a battlefield at once. For the first time she laughed, a small, honest laugh that echoed in the silence. You're a strange man, Captain Cole. Yeah, he said with a faint grin. I get that a lot. Outside, the storm began to calm. The nebula's glow dimmed, painting the ship in soft red light. But deep in the dark beyond, something vast and ancient still stirred, waiting. Lysara watched the fading lightning and whispered, When she returns, the stars will bleed. And Ethan, standing beside her, knew the war was only beginning. Days passed as Aurora's reach drifted deep inside the Heart Nebula. The red clouds shielded them from the Queen's sight, but tension filled the halls. The crew barely slept. The air smelled faintly of metal and ozone. Every few hours, the lights flickered, a reminder that the storm outside never truly rested. Ethan spent most of his time in the command deck, watching the readings, looking for anything that might help them survive. Lysara often stood beside him in silence, her armor dim, her eyes tired. She finally spoke one night, her voice quiet. You fight like a soldier, but you lead like someone who carries guilt. Ethan looked up from the screen. Guilt? You feel responsible for calling me, she said softly. For everything that followed, he nodded. Maybe I am. I joked about wanting a wife, and instead I got a war. Lysara's lips curved slightly. Sometimes the universe gives us what we need, not what we want. He smiled faintly. You sound like my old academy instructor. She turned toward the window. And did he survive your missions? No, Ethan said quietly. None of them did. Silence filled the room for a long moment. Then Lysara said, You carry ghosts. So do I. Ethan studied her profile, the way her silver eyes reflected the red storms. the faint scar near her neck that looked like it told a story she would never share. "How many wars have you fought?" "Too many," she said. "The Crimson Fleet has no homeworld anymore. Only ships in memory. Every war we fought was to keep our kind alive. But with every battle, we became fewer." He nodded slowly. "And now just you." "Just me," she whispered. A soft hum filled the ship. The crew's rest was broken as Mara's voice came over the comm. "Captain, you need to see this." Ethan and Lysara hurried to the bridge. On the main display, dozens of red signals blinked outside the nebula, ships approaching fast. "Are those hers?" Ethan asked. Mara shook her head. "No, they're not Shadowborn. They look like old Crimson ships, your kind," she said, glancing at Lysara. Lysara's eyes widened. "Impossible. They were all destroyed centuries ago." One of the signals broke away from the group, sending a transmission. The screen flickered, and a familiar face appeared, pale skin, silver eyes, and red armor. "Commander Lysara of the Crimson Fleet," the man said. "This is Captain Varric of the Bloodlight Remnant. We received your signal. We thought you were dead." Lysara stepped forward. "Varric, I buried you on Thaler's moon," he smiled. "Seems death lost interest in me." Ethan looked between them. "So, friends?" "Once," she said. "Now I'm not sure." Varric's expression darkened. "You activated the Heartstone. The Queen stirs because of you." "I didn't mean to," Lysara began, but he cut her off. "The Shadowborn rise and you bring a human. You betray our blood for a creature of dust." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Watch your tone, friend." Varric's eyes flared red. "You call me friend, but you know nothing of our pain." Lysara's voice hardened. "Enough, I obeyed the pact, I answered the call. The pact was a curse." Varric roared. "And you've doomed us all by binding yourself to him." Static burst through the transmission. The connection faltered. Mara frowned. "I'm picking up weapon charges on their ships." Ethan cursed under his breath. "You've got to be kidding me." Lysara stared at the screen, pain flickering across her face. "They won't listen. They think I've become corrupted. Can you stop them?" Ethan asked. "I can try." She closed her eyes, placing a hand over her heart. The red veins in her armor pulsed brighter. Outside, her fleet shimmered, faint red light spreading between the ships like a living web. For a moment, everything went still. Then a voice echoed through the comm, deep and thunderous. The same tone as before, but not Varric's. "They serve me now." Ethan froze. "That's her." "The Queen." Lysara's head snapped up. "She's taken control of them." On the screen, the Crimson ships turned their weapons toward Aurora's reach. Evasive maneuvers. Ethan shouted. The engines roared as the ship twisted through the nebula, beams of red light streaking past them. Mara yelled, "Shields failing!" Lysara moved to the center of the bridge, her eyes blazing. She uses their memories against them. But she can't control what's alive. "What do we have that's alive?" Ethan asked. She turned to him. "You," he blinked. "Me?" "You carry the light of the pact. It burns through her control. You must touch the network, through me." Without hesitation, Ethan grabbed her hands. The red marks on both their palms flared, merging into a single pulse of light that filled the bridge. Outside, the Crimson ships stopped firing. The glow in their engines flickered. Then one by one they broke formation and drifted free of the Queen's influence. Lysara gasped, nearly collapsing, but Ethan caught her. "You did it," he said. She shook her head weakly. "No, we did." Mara's voice trembled. "The other ships are retreating. But something's coming through the nebula. Something massive." Ethan turned toward the window. The clouds split apart and a colossal shape emerged, dark wings stretching across the red storms. The Shadow Queen herself had arrived, no longer just a voice. Lysara whispered, "She's here." Ethan's voice was steady. "Then let's finish this." The Shadow Queen's wings unfolded across the sky like a storm made of darkness. Her form was both beautiful and terrible, a vast silhouette with eyes that glowed like dying suns. Every star around her dimmed as if she drank their light. The Heart Nebula, once red and alive, began to fade into gray. On Aurora's reach, alarm screamed through every corridor. The crew moved quickly, their faces pale. Ethan stood in the center of the bridge, watching the Queen's shadow stretch toward them like a hand closing in. Lysara stood beside him, her armor cracked, the glow in her eyes dim. Yet, even in exhaustion, she looked calm, like someone who had already accepted her fate. Ethan said quietly. Tell me there's a way to stop her. There is always a way, she said, but not always one we survive. He turned to her sharply. No, not dying for another myth. We end this together and we walk away. Her lips curved faintly. You still believe in walking away? That's human of you. She stepped closer to the main console and laid her hand on it. The red veins on her armor pulsed again, spreading through the ship's systems. The entire bridge filled with a low hum like a heartbeat syncing with hers. Mara's eyes widened. She's linking herself to the core. Lysara's voice was steady. The ship's reactor carries enough power to burn through dimensions. If I fuse my essence with it, I can turn the energy into light strong enough to wound the queen. Ethan grabbed her arm. If you do that, you'll burn with it. She met his gaze, her silver eyes soft. I was already burning when I came to you. He didn't let go. There has to be another way. There isn't, she said simply. The queen feeds on life, on fear, on darkness. She cannot feed on pure light, not when it's given freely. Ethan shook his head, stepping closer. Then we do it together. Her expression changed, shock, then something deeper. You would die for this? For you, he said. For a long moment, neither spoke. The storm outside raged and the ship trembled. Then, slowly, Lysara smiled. Not as a warrior, but as someone who finally understood peace. Then we do it together, she whispered. They stood side by side, their hands joining over the console. The mark of the pact flared once more, brighter than ever before. The air vibrated and the ship's lights shifted from white to crimson gold. The reactor roared to life, its energy rising beyond safe limits. Mara shouted, Captain, the core is overloading. Ethan turned to her with a small grin. Good. Outside, the Shadow Queen reached them. Her voice filled every speaker, every thought. You cannot fight what is forever. I am the beginning and the end. Lysara's voice rose in answer, strong and clear. Then end begins now. The ship erupted in light. A beam of pure red gold energy burst outward, cutting through the queen's shadow like dawn, tearing apart the night. Her scream echoed across the stars, shaking the void itself. The darkness around her cracked, splintering like glass until her form dissolved into a storm of fading ash. The nebula flared bright again. Every cloud, every spark, every broken ship lit up with color. The silence that followed was almost holy. Mara covered her mouth, tears in her eyes. They did it. They actually did it. The crew watched as the storm cleared, revealing calm stars for the first time in what felt like forever. The energy faded, and the hum of the engines slowed. On the bridge, the consoles flickered. Ethan stood weakly, the glow fading from his hand. Lysara was beside him, her armor cracked completely, her light dimming. He caught her as she began to fall. Hey, he said softly. Stay with me. Her eyes opened slowly. You kept your word, he smiled faintly. Guess I'm not so bad as a husband, huh? A small laugh escaped her lips. Strangest husband I've ever had. Her fingers brushed his cheek. You gave light to a creature of blood. No one has done that before, he squeezed her hand gently. You saved us all, her voice weakened. Then my war is finally over, her eyes closed. The red mark on her skin faded, dissolving into faint sparks that drifted upward like fireflies before vanishing into the air. Ethan held her close, the hum of the ship fading to silence around him. Hours later, Aurora's Reach floated quietly in space. The queen was gone. The crew had survived. But the captain stayed alone on the bridge, watching the stars. The mark on his palm was still there, a faint glow, warm and steady. Mara approached quietly. Captain, we're ready to set course back to known space. He nodded. Do it, she hesitated. Sir, about her. He looked at the stars. She's not gone. She's part of the light now, and wherever light exists, she'll be watching. Mara smiled softly. Sounds like a wife to me. He laughed quietly. Yeah, it does. The ship turned slowly toward the distant glimmer of home. The engines came alive again, leaving trails of golden light behind them. And far beyond the nebula, in the endless dark between worlds, a faint whisper lingered, soft, proud, and eternal. I'm yours.